What is up, everybody? My name is Matthew. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some of the best investments any college student can make for the long run, and especially if our market dips down and crashes down below. Make sure you stick around to the end to hear my last asset that I have to tell you, because I am definitely sure that you have not heard of this one yet. Okay, if you have, let me know in the comment section down below. Today we're going to be talking about 3 stocks and 2 different assets. So I have 3 rules when choosing these investments that I'm going to tell you today. Number 1, we have to look at them from a long-term perspective, from 5, 10, even 20 years out into the future. We're kind of just taking these assets and throwing them into the filing cabinet and just waiting for them to appreciate, hoping that they someday gain value. We're really just looking for something that we're gonna throw money in and just kind of money that's already lost and already gone. Number 2, this has to have a really big growth opportunity for it in the future. And when I say growth opportunity, there has to be some things that are going for it, some things that are going to happen in the future that are going to make this asset more valuable. Number 3, we need a pretty good ROI. So we need to look at the business now or the asset now and see where it will be in the future. And if we think it's going to be worth more in the future, then it might be worth purchasing now for the long run. Just keep in mind that when you make these investments, you are making an investment for the long run. And if our investment goes sour, then we have all the time in the world to make up for it because we are young college students. What is that $100 or $200 to me now? And really, do I need that money? Because if I don't need it, I could put it into something that could get me so much more in the future. It doesn't really have to be $100 to $200. It's whatever you're comfortable with risking for the future. Now, these assets are going to be extremely risky. You need to make sure that you have the highest conviction in these assets, that you will be able to pour your money confidently and just hope for the best. First, we have Facebook stock. And Facebook is a company that owns Instagram, owns Facebook itself, WhatsApp, and Oculus. Now, Facebook makes most of their money from advertisements, and you'll see them be making advertisements whenever you're scrolling Instagram, scrolling on Facebook. So a lot of their money comes from ad revenue, but they're also launching this thing called Instagram Shops, which is a really big growth driver for them as well. So they're trying to get into the e-commerce of shops online and just trying to make sales to try to combat against that Shopify and all these online websites. With WhatsApp, you can call anybody or text anybody with the ease of using an internet connection, and that's just worldwide. Now, I think the Oculus business is what a lot of people are sleeping on. Oculus is actually one of the best virtual reality companies out there. And at school, I actually use Oculus because one of the things that we had to use was Oculus and travel to Rome to see how Rome was back in the day. This is like a history class, right? If you can have that alternative reality that you can go back into the past and experience different things, then I think that schools are going to be implementing this a lot more in their learning. And not even that, you have gaming for virtual reality. I actually worked in this department where we did virtual reality gaming, and it was like walking off a plank from a huge building, and it seems so real. Now, a lot of people are going to get a lot of happiness and joy from playing these type of games, and I think that the Oculus and virtual reality business will grow as time goes on, as more people become interested in gaming and as school education shifts towards this. Now, you have Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg running this business, and they have this synergy like no other. Mark Zuckerberg is actually just focusing on making acquisitions and just trying to buy out other companies, like what he did with Instagram and WhatsApp. On the other hand, Sheryl Sandberg is actually just trying to get all the ads towards Facebook, towards Instagram, and just trying to create this ad revenue beast. And they're just like ad machine, giving out ads, making a bunch of money from ads. Facebook has a balance sheet of $61 billion in cash with $11 billion in debt. They can pay off their debt 5 times over without going bankrupt. And if you think about that, this is probably one of the safest investments I'll be telling you today because of how safe they are. And the only thing that can really break them up is government regulations that say, hey, you're too big, you need to cut down, and we need to take some businesses away from you. I think that's the only risk that carries this company. And I think other than that, this company is growing at 20% revenues every single year. And I think that they're poised to have a great long-term vision. Going to the next asset, we have a stock that is owned by a CEO of 2 different companies and advertised by the best, arguably one of the best investors out there. That company is Square. And Square is ran by a CEO named Jack Dorsey, who also owns Twitter. And Cathie Wood is this famous investor that is very bullish on Square and has made a lot of statements regarding Square as well. So Square is a company that is a financial technology company that basically allows you to turn any device out there into a cash register. We have iPads, we have phones, we have tablets, and all these are kind of useless in the terms of business and trying to make transactions. But we've seen with Square, we can actually take their integration and take their technology, plug it into our iPad, our phone, our tablet, and make that into any kind of cash register out there. You have a lemonade stand where you're selling stuff to kids, you're selling stuff to parents, right? You can connect your Square reader, and then you can have your card transaction, you can have a tap to pay, and then you can accept so many more payments other than cash. We've seen in the more recent times, we're kind of shifting away from cash, and we're trying to make a shift towards credit cards and trying to make towards Apple Pay and digital payments. They actually have financial services where a business that uses Square's technology can actually take loans from Square, and they can help that to fund their business. In addition to that, they have payroll services that can help managing payroll a lot easier for businesses. As for the payment services, they have business analytics running behind the background of every transaction that is created through their Square technology. So after every transaction is uploaded to a database, and it tells the business owner, here's what's good, here's what's bad, here's what you should improve on. A business can see what is going well and what is not, so they can make the best business decisions and try to improve their business operations as a whole to create better business processes. In addition, they also have marketing services where they can reach out to a whole new set of audiences that could be exposed to a new business and a new product out there. So if you believe that we're kind of shifting away from a cash society and going towards a digital payment society, I think that Square is definitely the move to go to. But don't even forget about the Cash App, which allows you to transfer money to your friends, transfer money to your family, and also invest in cryptocurrency and stocks. Now, I know some people that love Cash App so much that they won't even think about switching to Venmo or switching to Zelle, right? And that's how much that this company has created for themselves to create that kind of brand and stickiness. I think that Square is one of the best fintech companies out there, and I think that you're really investing in yourself when you're investing in Square, because you go out to buy coffee, you go out to buy boba, you go out to buy snacks, and all these are likely through a Square reader. So if you invest in Square and you make these daily coffee transactions, you're going to be kind of investing in your own business in a sense. But I mean, long-term vision, we're shifting away from cash and going towards a more digital payment lifestyle. Number 3 is an asset that a lot of you might know already, and it's pretty big, and a lot of people have loved it and a lot of people have hated it. It's Tesla. And Tesla has actually seen a really big run in the recent stock price, and recently we've kind of seen it dip down below. A lot of people will be making a shift towards electric vehicles by 2035, in California at least, because Gavin Newsom stated that we will have to have zero emission sales of vehicles in our society by that time. And this kind of forces all ICE vehicle creators or makers to kind of shift towards this electric vehicles wave. And I think that Tesla is actually positioned to be number 1 in that field just because of the technology and the love for it. And a lot of people that step foot into a Tesla actually love it, and they won't switch away from Tesla ever. I think that Tesla is a very nice looking car. It's a very fast car that people want to see, and it's very good for the environment. But think about Tesla's autonomous driving. Tesla's autonomous driving pretty much drives the whole car for you. And I know they're still working on getting level 5 autonomy, which is full self-driving. And once they plan to have this out there, they plan to have a fully autonomous robo-taxi fleet of Teslas, so you can actually have your Tesla go around while you're at work instead of sitting in a parking lot just making deliveries and making food deliveries as well, right? You could deliver food and you could deliver people, so it's kind of like an Uber and DoorDash without you having to do anything. But I mean, this is super long term and it's kind of speculative, but you're kind of hoping Tesla will be the one to be able to perfect this autonomous driving and will be able to kind of get that autonomous taxi fleet going. Now, just this year, 2021, we're supposed to see the Cybertruck get released, and a lot of people have placed orders for the Cybertruck, so we're gonna have to see how much demand there is for that too, and just, you know, it's kind of exciting to see that. Don't even forget about Tesla's solar business. Tesla's solar business is actually stated to be bigger than their electric vehicles business. And if you think about it, and you think of Tesla just as a whole, the first thing that comes to mind is a car, right? Now, what if later on you're thinking of Tesla and you think of solar and cars, whereas the solar is actually bigger than the cars? It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around that, but once you do wrap your mind around that, Tesla's solar and solar business, as well as their electric vehicle business, is supposed to be very ROI positive and have a very good long-term outlook in the future. The next asset I have for you is Bitcoin. We've seen Bitcoin just drive all the way up from maybe $5,000 in March to like $50,000 where it is at today. And there's a really good bull case behind Bitcoin because only 21 million Bitcoin can ever be found and mined in the world. and that's supposed to be found in the year 2140. So with Bitcoin being at 21 million, we've only found about 18 million. So we still have more to find, and there's still more out there, but there's a limited supply of that, which just means that we want it more, pretty much. But here's the thing about Bitcoin. As we've seen in recent times, the Federal Reserve has been just printing out money and giving out money in the form of stimulus. These stimulus payments have accounted to multiple trillions of dollars. As more money is being printed out there, the US dollar is going to get weaker and weaker as time goes on. Some people even make the statement that cash is just an iceberg that is being melted slowly and slowly over time. I believe that as more money and more US dollars are being introduced to our economy, then the dollar is just going to be weakened. I think that a lot of people believe that Bitcoin is going to be a better store of value than cash in the future, just because of the potential of it raising and increasing in value. We've seen companies already put so much money into Bitcoin with the cash on their balance sheet. Likely this 1 to 5% in cash they will probably never touch, and they'll probably never use it anyways. So putting it into Bitcoin, they can at least get a maybe 1 to 3 to 5% return on their money at least, instead of a cash that's just going to be guaranteed devalued over time. We've seen Tesla already put so much money into Bitcoin already, as they are the first company to do it. And I think that a lot of other companies are going to follow them, as they believe that Bitcoin might be the better store of value rather than cash. If all corporations in the US were to put 10% of their cash into Bitcoin, that alone would add $200,000 to the Bitcoin price. And this is just by Cathie Wood stating this as her opinions. Now, Bitcoin really pops off in the future if we see a mass adoption towards Bitcoin. And if a lot of these companies are going to be using it as a store of value, then a lot of companies will accept it as a form of payment too, right? So we've already seen Tesla say, hey, you could buy our cars with Bitcoin. And in the future, we could see a lot of more transactions with Bitcoin rather than cash and US dollars. Now, I chose Bitcoin instead of other cryptocurrencies because I believe that if we were to adopt one cryptocurrency and it just had to be one out there to adopt, then I had to put my bet that it's going to be Bitcoin rather than any other cryptocurrency out there. It's just the one that I feel more comfortable with and the one that I believe will do the best in the future. Last but not least, what you have all been waiting for, and I know it's the asset you guys are so excited for, and it's literally right here next to me. It's Pokemon. So going into the history of Pokemon, there's so many things and so many factors that created the brand to be as big as it is today. So going back to a long time ago when I was a kid, and to even my cousins that are older than me, they loved Pokemon, and we'd watch it every single Saturday on the TV, and we'd collect cards. And we would play Pokemon games on our DS's, on our Game Boys, in search of catching them all. Catching them all and catching all the Pokemon has actually become a reality in today's world. We've seen people like Logan Paul and all these other Pokemon YouTubers come out and trying to capture as many cards as they can. And people are collecting these cards and just trying to get as many cards as they can, the best cards they can, in the best condition they possibly can. Now, one Pokemon card class that I think will be valuable in the future is the first edition base set Pokemon cards. Now, since that these cards were the first to come out, they're over 20 years old, and these cards have been stepped on, chewed on, and even like eaten by like dogs and people. So it's really hard to find a card that's in good condition, that has good centering, good edges, and is graded to a really good grading of a PSA 10 or a Beckett 10. So since these cards are so old and they don't create them anymore, it's hard to get these, which means that a lot of people and a lot of collectors have their eyes on them, and a lot of people are trying to get the best condition cards that they can from the first edition base set pack. And if you look at these cards, there's beautiful holographics out there, and so many people love the artwork, and they're buying the card just because they love the artwork too. Now, Pokemon as a whole, they have so many partnerships in creating cards. For example, over the past few years, they had the Mario and Luigi partnership. And this was just a card as Pikachu in a Mario costume and a Pikachu in a Luigi costume. Now, these cards are selling north of a couple $1,000s for the set of 2 of these. And that's actually kind of crazy because you could actually just buy this for maybe under $200 when it first came out. So you could really see the ROI and the percentage gain of you investing in a Pokemon card that you believe will do well over the time and future. Now, I'm not saying just invest in the collaborations or the first edition base set, but I believe that you should invest and do your own due diligence on how many cards are out there and what the conditions of the cards are, how many people want the card, and if it's just a really nice artwork that you would enjoy having in the event that this card doesn't appreciate in value. So as for grading, you can actually just get regular cards and then send them to a grader like PSA or Beckett, and then they'll grade your card based on the edges, corners, centering, holographics, and the condition of the card overall. Now, they'll send you back the card and you'll probably get a rating from 1 to 10 on how well your card scored. And the higher that these grades come back, then the more valuable that they'll be. and the more valuable they are, the more of an investment it is to long-term buy and hold, right? If you have a high grading card, it's probably going to be worth a lot more in the future, just because a lot of people want the best condition card out there, and a lot of people will get a 9 out of 10 and will be like, I need the 10 out of 10, and that kind of sparks demand, and a lot of people will just want to buy that 10 out of 10 graded card that you have. So here's my final takeaway and my final thoughts overall. I think it doesn't really matter which asset you choose or which asset that you buy, and that you are able to make your own decisions at the end of the day. By purchasing these assets, just know that you are taking on a risk that you could potentially lose 100% of your money, but they could also be worth a lot more in the future. Now, I wouldn't say invest your whole life savings into it, but I think that since you are young, since you are in college, and you have all the time in your life to make up for it, I think it's worth to take a risk of that few $100s that you probably won't need in the short term. If you are able to win and strike it right from the decisions and investment decisions that you choose today, then I think that you could set yourself up so much far later down the line, and this investment can actually help you with maybe paying off a house, paying off a down payment, or just kind of paying for that rent, or anything that you might need in the future. And who knows, maybe you'll find a new interest in investing in Pokemon cards, or looking into stocks and researching companies and balance sheets and like that. So you really don't know what this can bring you, and you could be ROI positive regardless of money in the terms of knowledge and skill sets. I think that the best way to get exposure to the markets is to just really get exposure to the markets and get in there. There's no other way to get experience and know what's going to happen with your money if you don't get in the first place. So since you're young, take these risks, take these calculated risks, I might add, and just get in there, because they could be worth so much more in the future. Remember, just invest what you are willing to lose, and make sure that you are really willing to lose that money that you put in there. That being said, I hope you found so much value in this video, and I really hope that you like this video and subscribe if I did provide value to you. And make sure you check out the picture that I drew for you guys, because it kind of represents the buy and hold long-term strategy for us. Thank you for your time today, and I really appreciate all you guys' support, and I just wanted to say peace out.